Now going on to my research, I have several projects that I'm doing, but I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm just going to highlight maybe 2 or 3 of those projects that I'm doing. On your handout, I put in maybe 3 or so projects. The first one being the irrigation project. My predecessor showed that cranberry bogs are usually very wet during the growing season. And the reason being that most of the growers, they didn't have an objective way of assessing when to irrigate and when to stop to irrigate. So I started experimenting with different implements that can be used as decision tools. And majorly, I'm looking at tensiometers. So what I've been doing with growers out there, I decided this year that I'm also going to do the same here on station. And thank you for pointing out that I was basking in a glory cloud. but of course, other colleagues that are here also helped out, because we need good nutrition, we need to take care of the insects and of the pathological vectors that are out there, and we all chipped in. And thankfully for Rick, he would take instruction to the T, and he would implement what we tell him, and that helped out. So basically what we've been trying to do is to show growers that if you manage your cranberry bogs a little drier than what they've been doing previously, you tend to have a better crop. And it's evident from our research and even from the data that I show on the first graph that some are installing tile drainage to say, okay, and because some are installing tile drainage, they think that they can irrigate as much as they want, but that's not the case. We're showing that for you to get optimum results from your tile drainage, you still have to maintain your tension levels or your water levels at a certain level, which is much drier. And when you have tile drains and you maintain your tension at say 4.5, you tend to have a better yield than a person who's just irrigating every other day. The other 2 projects that I'll talk about has to do with frost monitoring. This is a project that was funded by the state CIG program for the past 2 years, and we've been monitoring, and I've had a graduate student on the project. She just finished her PhD this fall, and out of that work we're actually getting maybe 3 or 4 publications out of that work, and some of the results are what I've included in the handout. What we're finding is that cycling is just as effective as conventional frost protection. As a matter of fact, we do have slightly a greater damage in terms of the cranberry buds, and this is like 5 out of 100 you get damage. Whereas with conventional, it's probably 2 to 3 out of 100. But then the question becomes, okay, what kind of damage do we get? Most of the damage is on 1 or 2 floral initials, and because cranberry is a 4 to 6 floral initials, so if you damage 1 or 2, the other 4 that are remaining, they'll still flower, they'll still produce a crop. That's why at the end of the year when we harvest, we don't find any yield differences between cycling and conventional. So cycling becomes attractive because 1, you're reducing the amount of water that you're putting out there, so you're also reducing the amount of energy used. So it's a sustainable way of managing the bulk. And then the last project that I'll talk about has to do with acclimation, how the cranberry plants, as they're going in the fall, how they prepare themselves to overwinter, because they have to harden before in order to survive the winter. And my student has been able to show that hardening occurs up until when we put in the floods for harvest. And when we put in the floods for harvest, there's sort of like a slight reversal, or the hardening process is reversed somewhat. But once the harvest waters are pulled out, the hardening continues up to a level where the cranberries are ready to overwinter. Elsewhere, they've found that cranberries, after they've put in harvest floods, they become arrested. The hardening process doesn't continue. But in our case, it's just a drawback, and then they continue hardening. And that is very important as far as maintaining your crop for the following season. I think with that, I'll take questions.